guys, gals, and bees. Hello! Today we are making a custom 3D particle system in TOUCHDESIGNER. It's very versatile. And by playing around with it, you can get a lot of different results. I'm going to show you how to make something like this. And how to use your mouse to create interactivity. It's built completely from scratch, so you will not need any particles GPU component or anything like that. It's also a lot of fun to play with. You can find the file on my Patreon, link in the description. But I will show you all of the steps here. Let's get started. Let's drop down a constant top. And call this count. And set it to 1000. This constant decides how many particles there will be in the simulation. Remember that this number will be squared. So there will be 1 million particles in this simulation. Let's put down a ramp top. Drag and drop the count to the resolution. Set it to 32-bit float RGBA. Copy and paste it. Set the ramp to vertical. Connect them to a reorder top. Input 2 green. Change blue to 0. Connect it to a point transform. Translate X and Y to -1. Scale it by 2. Let's connect this to a null. Name it POS. Let's keep this in the background and view as points. Right-click to turn off adaptive homing. I want some irregularities in the spacing, so I'm just adding a very small noise top. Type random. Amplitude 0.001. Offset 0. Connect it to a null. Name it start. Let's add another null and name it end. Plug a feedback to after the start. Drag and drop the end to the feedback. Connect a noise top in a separate track from the feedback. Set the output to multiply. Connect a threshold to the feedback and plug it into the first input of the noise. Comparator not equal. Set it to red. Threshold 0. Soften 2. In the noise. Turn monochrome off. Offset 0. Harmonics and period all the way up. Connect it to a math. And multiply it by 0.001. Add it to the feedback loop with an add top. Remember to plug the feedback into the second input of the noise top. And now we can add these. This is already quite beautiful. If you've seen my other tutorials, you have already done something like this. And now I want to keep the points returning after a certain amount of time. I've discovered a new and improved way to do this. Let's make a little life component. Drop down a constant top. And let's grab the start with a select top. Connect the select to the constant top. And set all the values to 0. Under Output, set Resolution Only. Copy and paste the constant. And let's set all of these values to 0.001. We will change this later. Let's add these two together. And put a feedback top here. Now these values are slowly adding up to 1 and beyond. Let's do it so that every time this reaches 1, we return it back to black. And I'm stealing this technique from the brilliant Paquita 12. Let's use a matte. Let's connect this 0 constant to the first input. Do as I say, not as I do. Let's connect a threshold to this feedback. Set the threshold to 1. And connect it to the third input of the matte. Set the matte to luminance. And reset the feedback. Now, when the feedback reaches 1, the threshold will tick and the matte will return the value to 0. Nice. Make sure the black constant is in the first input, the feedback is in the second input, and the threshold is in the third input. Now we can connect a noise top before the feedback. And set the type to random. Select all and set it to nearest pixel. Now this process is happening to 1,000,000 pixels independently. Let's grab this threshold and connect it to a null. Select all of these. Right-click outside and collapse selected. Let's call this component life. Let's do some chop math to get an accurate lifetime value. Create a constant chop. Name the first channel rate and the second life. In the first channel, type in the me.rate. This is our frame rate. In the second, type in how many seconds you want the particles to live. I put 20. Connect this to a math and multiply the channels. Let's connect another math, because we want this value as a fraction. Let's create a constant chop. Set it to 1. Connect that to the second math. Make sure it is the first input. And divide the chops. We are now getting a value that is 1 divided by lifetime. Let's connect this to a null. And drag and drop this value to all the channels in this constant. Let's customize this component for ease of use. Let's name this parameter life. It's a float. Click Add Parameter. Range minimum 1. And maximum 25. Let's also create a momentary and call it reset. Right-click the component, click Parameters. And we find them under Custom. Set the life to 15 and drag and drop this value to the constant chop called life. Not like that. Like this. Let's also use the reset to reset the feedback. Okie dokie. That was a lot of work for very little. But it makes all the difference. Let's connect this select to multiply top. And connect this component to the second input. Connect it to an over top. And plug it in at the end of the feedback loop. And now we have this. By changing this value in the math, we can change the speed of the particles. Yeah, so this is one thing you can make with this particle system. I'm actually going to set this threshold to equal and turn the softness to 0. So it's effectively disabled. Let's create a keyboard in to reset the feedback and the life component. Let's put a limit top here in the end. Limit minimum with zigzag at 0. And mask the red and green channel. So only the blue is active. Let's copy and paste this noise. Change the scale to 0.2. Change the seed. And add it to the other noise. Okay. I need a coffee break, maybe you do too. Okay. Let's create another manipulation to this particle system. Connect a point transform here. Connect a threshold to the feedback and plug it into the second input of the point transform. Set it to blue and turn up the softness. We can now move the particles. The threshold decides which particles will move. Let's just plug some values in here. We will control this with a mouse. Let's drop down a mouse and chop. Connect it to a limit. Zigzag. Minimum 0. Connect it to a math and a null. Let's drag the TX to the rotate Z. We can now control the rotation with our mouse. Let's connect the mouse into another math and multiply it by 0.01. Plug it into a null. Let's drag the TX into the scale X and Y. And add 1 at the beginning of the expression. Let's drag the TY to the scale Z, and add 1 to that as well. Let's also drag the TY to the translate Z. And if we move this threshold down a little, it becomes more responsive. Let's change the lifetime a little bit. This is fun. We can play around with the mouse. Let's render this in an instancing network. Let's grab a box SOP. Let's make it really small. Connect it to a geometry. Add a constant material, a camera, a render top and a null. Turn on instancing in the geometry. Drag the POS null to the translate operator and set R, G, and B. Set up your camera. Add a background with a transform top. I get carried away playing with this. I get carried away playing with this. Let's decrease the alpha. Let's add some color to this. Connect a ramp top. Set output to set resolution only. Connect it to a lookup and a null. Copy and paste the ramp. Plug the second ramp into the second input. Let's make the first ramp circular. Extend it with mirror. and change the colors in the second ramp. In the Geo on the second instancing tab, drag and drop the color. I decided that I don't want to use boxes. I'm going to put down an add SOP. Add points. And a convert SOP. Convert to particles per point. And use a point sprites material. And yeah, there we go. Add whatever post-processing you want to this. Have fun. Like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to tag me if you make something with this. Cheers.